Okay,
for
great.
forever. Okay, I did
Awesome.
not put,
Thanks.
oh, I need my mouse, but I don't have it, so I guess I
Oh,
don't need it.
oh
It's not in here, I don't think. It's been a crazy day. I went to a concert last night.
gosh, what concert did you go to?
The Conan Gray concert. I don't know if you know who he is.
Okay, I feel like I actually think I've heard of that. I think I
Yeah.
have a friend who likes. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, it
That's
was
really
a
cool.
ton of fun. It was really cool. But I didn't get home until like midnight or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And man, I'm tired. I'm so sleepy. I got like 5 hours of sleep last night. I'm kind of really ready for bed, actually, and it's only
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Which
Yeah.
usually I'm pretty good at going to bed on time, but not.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well that's a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
okay, I got home at midnight and I could have gone to bed at midnight, but it's my own fault because I ended up staying up talking with my roommates.
well, of
Sorry.
course.
I know when
Yes.
you gotta like talk to them. I lost my Apple Pencil and I don't know where it went.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's
Those.
fine. It's somewhere. I literally just had it not less than 5 minutes ago. As you can tell, I'm like super tired.
Oh my gosh, I would be too. Did you have to wake up early today too?
Yeah, I had to get up like 7:30, which isn't too bad, but it's like, oh
But
my
not
gosh,
fun.
it's magnetic, and I literally had it in my hand and I like hit it on my desk on accident. Wow.
That is so funny. Well, I'm glad you found it. That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Uh,
going crazy. Okay. Should we just get started and then we can just
maybe we should just get started. And,
join? Yeah.
yeah. We can also send, I don't know if there's a way to send the recording to her if she
Yeah,
wants to.
I think we can like text her the link or something.
Perfect. Yes.
Uh,
That'd be great.
yeah, okay. So the first 20 minutes of your jigsaw, teach each other about the concepts you learned in the reading. Remember that for the oral exams, you need to know the material and the readings, um, not just the ones you read. Use this time to understand. This is gonna be hard for 20 minutes. Like, that's like 5 minutes per person, but now it's like 10 minutes. Like, we have to do
I
double.
know. I know. That's crazy. Well, because that's true, because we used to have four people, didn't we?
Yeah,
And now, oh
yeah.
my gosh. Okay.
This is gonna be great.
Do our best, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go first with what you
Yeah, I can
read?
go
Okay.
first. I accidentally did my notes in the wrong notebook on my iPad, so that's pretty great. So
I feel that.
half my notes are in one part, and my other half of the notes are in the other part. Okay, so the jigsaw. So we had to listen to podcasts this week for our jigsaws,
Yes.
and it was very interesting. The one I had to read, it so the name of it was the social psychology won't save us. And it was basically talking about how you they don't know like what to tell about good and like bad data, and so they end up kind of teaching us the wrong things. And a lot of um sorry, I'm trying to remember. I'm just gonna talk about the part I remember.
Okay.
I was talking to my boss about this, which I thought it was really cool. And one of the phrases it used is that teachers don't tend to understand the data, which ends up having them make mistakes. So when you don't understand the data, you're like, oh, this looks like it's good, like it's proven to help. But if you don't know that, like Pearson R and oh my gosh, I forget what it's called.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If you don't use like that, those kind of things where it's like, okay, here's what, or like the alpha and the p value, where if you have like, it's very little chance, but it is making a significance, but it may not be doing as much. Like, is it as much significance as you need? And so I was talking to my boss about this, and I was because I work for a data company, and
Oh, nice. Yeah.
um, we basically try and make data easier to understand for businesses.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was talking about that, and I was like, how teachers don't understand, and they get the data wrong. And you see a lot of these articles where I feel like you should almost be skeptical if they say they have data almost. That's kind of what my thoughts are. You should be skeptical if they say they have data, and you should really research those data sets and see what they're actually getting, because they might be telling you one thing, but when you read it, you realize they completely missed out another part. And there was the self-esteem movement back in like the early 2000s where like if you do self-esteem like and stuff, it's gonna like change your life. You're gonna have a better life. Where if you have a lower self-esteem, it's gonna be a least better life. But in the end, it was like there was a lot of chance with that. For like example, students could have been more like, they have better self-esteem because they got good grades or something like that. It doesn't have to be like completely related. It's like just because they have
Yeah.
good self-esteem and they feel good doesn't always mean that it relates to self-esteem. Like it could be, something else is going good in their life, which means it works. And so you kind of have to be skeptical. And one thing my boss was saying, he's like, yeah, like you look at those data things and you tell that they're doing the data wrong and stuff. So kind
Interesting.
of I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
oh, and there was this one company that or they were talking, sorry, I'm now
No,
it's all coming
you're
back to me.
good.
I
You're
was
good.
really good. I
I want
really
to
enjoyed
hear.
it. But it was talking about how they they had this idea, I think it was if I remember correctly, about self-esteem, but they like got a bunch of people, and this guy, he comes in and he's like, guys, the data you've been looking at, like it's not real. Like you're wrong, and everybody was like, no, and they basically took all his words and changed it to make it sound like he agreed with them because they didn't like that he was disagreeing. And they really had that like confirmation bias, where it's like they wouldn't listen to someone who had other opinions from them. And so it made it kind of hard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That is really
It was
cool.
a really cool thing. I was really enjoying listening to it.
Wow. Did it lead to any questions you had, like
Yeah.
about that topic?
Let's see. I wrote some down. One of the things that I was thinking about as it was like teachers don't understand how to use the data, and so they make wrong decisions all the time. I was thinking about it. I'm like, in schools, do they have like a research specialist? Because like I guess like the principal like went and got a master's degree and like might have a little bit more information that way, but I don't know. I was like, how could we make it so that schools are less have less confirmation bias and so they can actually understand the data. But we also, teachers already have so many things on their plates. Like, they really don't need to be data specialists too. So, like, what
Right.
ways can we make getting that information to them and the most effective ways with it being clear and actually proven to be able to help teachers, and what type of checks can we have, like I don't know, you think about the government, like the
Yeah.
government kind of checks itself, like has multiple different things, but with science you don't, like other people will kind of check you, but sometimes people are wrong or they have that confirmation bias and it doesn't work. So that's like a question you can't answer, but like That's what I was thinking about. I was like,
No, that's really cool. And like you said you like for companies you take data and make it easier to understand, right?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
like I wonder if there would be something like that for schools. Like if they had someone to do that for schools and like also
Yeah.
like check the data as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Or like a committee, like every school,
Yeah.
like maybe like a district could set this up where it's like they have this like data committee, where they're checking the data and maybe they like are a part-time teacher or something, or they have like a prep period that just goes to sitting down and doing that research. And then they have this like research committee where they're checking the facts. Maybe they're not exactly doing experiments, but they're able to check the facts and different things that are coming out and maybe even I mean, if they have time to do their own experiments with permission, but I think maybe having a little bit more of research within the school setting instead of outside could be interesting because I feel like teachers know more about education than some scientists who don't. Like, not saying that they don't,
Yeah.
but it's like
But
they're the ones
yeah.
who are in the classroom with the students and they're going to be able to tell if it's making a difference or not.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
a researcher. And there are researchers who are like just for education, but I don't know, if someone doesn't quite understand education, is trying to do research and get evidence about education and they don't exactly understand it, I think there should be some sort of training for people who are making those decisions, and it should be more like talked about. And before you implement something in schools, you should be like super aware of it. Sorry, I'm remembering something else
No.
from this.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
So it was
ahead.
talking about the military too. So it was like there's this anxiety program that they gave to like 13-year-olds, right? And
Okay.
13, 14-year-olds in schools, and it worked. And so someone convinced the US military to implement that program that was meant for 13 and 14-year-olds to help PTSD and like trauma and stuff. And they spent like $5
Okay.
million dollars, and they were really trying to just have like an easy solution to like the problem instead of taking longer to truly understand it and like dive in. And because of that, they wasted a lot of money. So,
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. Like that would be crazy to spend that much money and like only have that like one or like small test from like 13 and 14 year olds.
yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow. That's really
Okay.
interesting.
It
Okay.
was. What about yours? I'm excited to hear
Okay, okay.
yours.
Yeah. So mine was on, it was called The Rise and Fall of Peer Review.
Ooh.
So, um, so let me see here where I kind of start. Okay. So there's kind of this like claim, I guess, that like science will be better off if we have someone check every, this kind of actually goes in with yours a lot. Science will
Uh,
be better off if we have someone check every paper and reject the ones that don't pass like muster, so like aren't
yeah.
up to par kind of. And so this kind of goes with yours, like we have data that is like, kind of false and like doing this. And this the whole thing kind of is talking about how it doesn't actually really work right now to have the peer review, which I thought was really interesting because like I thought it would, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it said that science journals that start in like this science journal that started in the 1700s, or I guess science journals in general started in the 1700s with no standards. So they didn't really like check data or like pass certain things to be published. They kind of just let all scientists like bring in their stuff and bring their papers into the journal. But after World War II, the government spent like a bunch of money on peer review. So they started having people review all these papers. So now peer review is required in order to get your thing published. Like you can't get it published without someone checking it.
Mm.
So it basically, the whole thing was it failed and it was super expensive and really time consuming. So despite a bunch of money, I can't remember exactly how much. I might have written it down later. But despite the money and efforts it took, it really didn't. They found that it really didn't improve the science or like the
Mhm.
research or the papers or the research or anything. Um, they discovered that before peer review, they were just basically as good as after or even better. And so, what went wrong basically is this question that they asked: is peer review do what it's supposed to do? And it's supposed to catch bad research and prevent it from being published. But they said that it doesn't really do that. Like, scientists run studies where they added errors to papers and they sent it through this peer review process,
Oh,
which takes a
interesting.
super long time, and they were only able to catch and it depended on the different studies. Some were able to catch 30% of the errors. One was 25 and another was 29, but still like super low. And
Yeah.
these were like, it said it was major things, like major errors too, like claiming studies were randomized or controlled trials, but they really weren't, or like just pretty big things.
Yeah.
Um, and so basically, their whole thing is like fraudulent papers are getting published like all the time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like super interesting. I had no clue about that.
Well, what makes me wonder
Yeah.
is that if AI could like not saying that AI like makes the data, but is that check, does it meet the like sample size? Is it random? Does it meet all of those like qualifications if it was a good study or not? Maybe it
You
could
know,
catch that better than a human could.
that's
I don't
actually
know.
a really good point, and I'm gonna write that down real quick. I had not thought about that at all.
I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't work. I'm not a researcher, so maybe
Right.
there's
No,
like
I don't know
some
anything
reason where
about
it
AI,
wouldn't
but
work, but maybe.
no, but that's actually such a great question. Um, there's this really funny research. Sorry, I'm just gonna add in here.
Yeah.
It was a research study that studied like dishonesty,
Uh,
and it was published, and basically all of its data was like fake. And he was talking about that, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like ironic. Um, so so why don't reviewers catch basic errors? And basically what it comes down to is they almost never look at the data behind the papers. They never like go deeper into the data. They kind of like, I guess, just read through it and like check the data, but they
mhm.
never really like go deep into it and see what actually happened. And most journals don't require you to make your data public. So like at all. So isn't I thought that was so
Interesting.
interesting. Um, yeah, really interesting. So, yeah, one editor asked authors to add raw data after they submitted their papers, and half of the papers declined and retracted their submission for to be published, which I thought was really interesting. So that meant, they probably, if they didn't want to send it in, they probably had fake data or something fishy was going on. Um, and so the
I feel
next
like
part
there's a
is,
lot of
yeah, sorry,
confirmation
jump in
bias
whenever.
in these. There's a lot of confirmation bias in studies. Like
Yes,
just
yeah,
humans are so biased to so many things and
we
and they
are.
want to prove what they want their hypothesis to be right and they don't like being wrong. So I wonder how we could like change that narrative between right and wrong and more of a just collecting the data?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's so interesting. Like, even though people are like, even when you try not to be biased, like, I can't believe how much it's ingrained into us. Like, first impressions, or like, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, but all of these things are like biases, or like just what we hear
Mm.
all the time. That's even a bias. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just so interesting.
that's a good point. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. You're good.
Gotta make
So
this 20 minutes
yeah,
last,
we gotta stretch it out.
Yeah.
Um, so scientists say they take it seriously, like taking peer review and the whole process seriously. But if they really cared, this is what this guy said. It's kind of a quote. If they cared, they would really listen to the feedback more and do more work experiences or experience or experiments. That's what I'm trying to say. And other things like that after they submitted a paper and it was rejected. But they found that people that submitted papers and they got rejected just sent them again to a different company, like a different publishing
What?
company. Yeah, they didn't like redo anything. They just sent the same one back. So really interesting things. Okay, and then the next part was, can we fix it? And he says it's easy to imagine things better, but it's not easy to make them better. Um, so lack of effort is not the problem because people spend a ton of money getting these peer reviews, and it takes a long time getting your paper to actually be published.
Hmm.
And he said some other things about how being stricter didn't actually really help in the long run. Um, and it just kind of, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what I said about the stricter part, but basically didn't help very much. And he kind of related it to this. He kind of said, like, imagine if the FDA's way of inspecting was just to send someone around and smell all the food and then say if it was dangerous or
That's
not.
a
He
really
said that's
good
kind of,
point.
yeah, isn't that a cool like
That's a
analogy?
that's a good
Yeah.
analogy. I like that.
And so that's basically what they're doing is they're going around, they're smelling it and like, oh, this smells good, this smells bad, and then they're just, this gets published. But he said, like, imagine if the food that you ate had like a sticker saying it's approved by the FDA, and all it was just smelled. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. But the hard thing is, it means a lot of things to some people when they look at articles and we're like, hey, this thing has been published by this fancy journal, but really it's not really that important at all. And
Yeah.
so he brought up this is kind of my final point, that like, should everyone have papers without being published? Like, should there be journals without having the whole publishing process? And he said, yes, anyone could say technically false, like data, but um, they're doing that anyway. So, like, does it make a big difference? And would it be easier for true things to get published or to get out there if the false things, I don't know, if there wasn't a whole publishing process that took forever? So
Uh,
that was kind of an interesting thing to think about, but there wasn't really an exact answer to that question. So, yeah,
Stink.
yeah, it was really interesting. There's kind of a lot, but it was good.
Cool. Okay, we did it for 20
We did
minutes.
it!
We talked for
Yay!
a long time. That's good because I think we started like what, a minute or two after.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after.
No, we got this. Do you have any more
Yay!
questions this
You
week?
know, uh, oh,
Assignment?
to ask you about your thing?
Wait. We're supposed to do the Socratic
Oh,
seminar
yeah.
next.
Go ahead.
Just
Yes.
questions. Do you have any?
Um, Kind of just about like the general, like what we've been reading this week.
Yeah, just
Okay.
like questions about the reading. We're just supposed to think of
Okay.
questions. I have,
Um,
I just don't remember where they are.
no, I totally get that. I really liked what you said about the AI, like catching those things. I think that would be really interesting to see. And also, oh, about the military thing that you brought up with the
Mhm.
like 13 and 14-year-olds. I'd really like to like I wonder what the main like differences are. Like, I know there's super big differences. They're like teenagers, and then there's these people who are in the
Yeah.
military working with PTSD. But I would like to see like what do these people need versus what these people need? Like, why doesn't this work for
Well, I
them?
think what the article was kind of saying is that it was supposed to help reduce anxiety, okay? That was what
Okay.
it's supposed to do, like anxiety and different things for mental health for students. Well, don't get me wrong, there's some 14-year-olds who struggle with some very hard things.
Right.
They're not in active combat every single day. It's like
Right.
they like it takes a very long time, and this is what that article is talking about, is like it takes a very long time to be able to change your mind after a traumatic experience, where it's like it needs to be like one-on-one, nice and slow. Like if you do it beforehand, it's not going to work as well. Where for 14-year-olds who are worried about homework, yeah, this training might be nice, but for soldiers, it just wasn't exactly because the severity was different, you know?
That, yeah. Oh, for
Like they're
sure.
not they're not in the same situation. Where like maybe if you're like, okay, well, we have this like thing that helped 13 and 14-year-olds. Well, let's see if it helps college students. You know, like let's see if this study can help college students to be better. I think it's like there was no correlation between middle schoolers and the military. There was very few
Yeah. That
to
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting out of it.
Okay. That does make sense. Awesome. Um, do you have any questions?
Let me find some. I wrote
Yes.
them
Good.
down. I just have to find them.
I know. I had one that I'm trying to find right now, but
Oh, I mean, we've kind of been talking about this, but one of them was how do we stop overclaiming? So basically, I think this is from the same article we've been talking about. It was so interesting. But that was one of the questions where it's like when people get paid for this might be to answer one of the questions you had earlier. But a lot of people are claiming these data like that what I'm so tired. Claiming these information stuff to be able to get money. And so of course people are going to be making these claims even if it's nothing just so they can get the reward. And as you're rewarding people for it, um you're obviously going to get stuff that isn't true because it's because they want the money. Like that's probably where some of their bias is
yeah.
in.
I totally understand that. Like if you want your paper to be published, and I think he brought that up in the podcast I listened to, like there is like in one of the solutions that someone had thought of, like he was
Uh,
like, yes, that like works like theoretically, but like if you actually tried it, people are just trying to get them published. Um, and so they'll add more false, you know, data into something, and then it will just be, you know, they'll just be trying to publish it and have more and more fake things being published. So
yeah.
they wanted it to be like, oh, this is really interesting, this is really cool, oh, this, look at this data and this and stuff, and it just isn't real.
Okay. I came up with another question. So, the statistical courtroom is what we were talking about in in the lectures, right?
Right.
And it was talking about like um the hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, the p-value, the level of significance. How do we use this in the classroom? Like, I know it's more for research, but like, can we use this in the classroom? It like, I'm not going to be teaching math. Like, how am I supposed to use this for the classroom?
Right.
My question.
That's a really good question. And I wonder if it's like you said, like is it only for research? Like is this why we're learning it? Or is it actually have more of a like it can be brought in more?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I would be really interested to see how it could be brought in into a classroom.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it could, but you're
Because
right.
it
And I need to
teaches
bring up all my definitions of like what everything means, but
I know I
yeah.
still need to do some studying to fully understand it. My brain's kind of spinning a little bit, and this week is like absolutely crazy. My plan is to hopefully like sometime this week just to like completely get it. I'll probably spend like an hour on it today, like just studying it, and an hour tomorrow, an hour on Saturday, to figure it out. Um, I, I was thinking back to the question we had last week, where it was, is it okay to do research on your students or do experiments on your students? And in what level? Because I think that you can use all of these things if you're doing like little research for your own benefit, you know? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that
But
is a
I feel like
good,
there's such a weird line with that, you know?
yeah, that's true. Um, I I'm looking up my little like notes here, and you had talked about like p-value, alpha, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the one I can think of um that we could bring in is actually like peer review. If someone, you
Yeah.
know, researches a topic, we could have the students like practice, hey, is this data actually like a trustworthy place? Is it coming from research studies that are real? That's one I could see being implemented in the classroom setting. But yeah, and the thing about the students and the experiments, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it could be implemented there definitely if you're doing experiments, but I think it just really depends. I don't know.
I was thinking about something else to kind of relate to that. It's we could teach our students because there's a lot more of learn how to learn by yourself now. And
Okay.
to be able to do that, I feel like you have to be able to look at research. So I think teaching students about how I want you to use good research that's actually proven, you know, while you're doing your assignment. So then they can be a little bit more cautious is like and they're maybe just a little bit more skeptical of everything they read. You know, just more of a you know what? That level of significance. Or no, not that. Change of opinion. So it's like where you if you have enough evidence, you change your mind. So like maybe it's you go and you look for research about different things. And then once you have enough, you'll change your mind. But one thing my boss used to tell me, or I was taking a class from him, and he like broke his leg or something. I can't remember. And his doctor told him, he's like, okay, what should we do? Like, what's the next step? And he's like, what do you want the next step to be? Because I can find research on literally anything saying that it's good. Even if it's not true research, it's just you can find that research, which I think is
Yeah,
interesting.
that is okay. That actually brought up a question that I have.
Yeah.
How can we, so we were talking about biases. How can we teach our students to be aware of biases and think more critically instead of more biased?
Yeah, I think just understanding that there is bias is a
Yeah,
great first
teaching.
step.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like the one lady where it's like a little like brain in a nutshell. She was talking about how you don't want to like diagnose you yourself or your friends, you know? Just
Yeah.
and once you're aware of it, you're a little bit more cautious of it, you know? Because I know there used to be things saying that if you say this was talking about in the podcast for the jigsaw, if you um I'm I'm blanking. If we used to talk about the things would happen. You know, it's like if you talk
Oh, yeah.
about racism or whatever, like if you don't talk about it, it will happen less. But I really do think it's the opposite for some things. I think there's some things that you probably shouldn't talk about, but kids are still learning and they don't know better. And so you really do want to teach them well in the first place. So, like, teaching them you are going to have biases. How can you step back and look at another person's perspective without getting heated? You know, how do you
Ah,
look at other things? Because I think that's something that I learned pretty young was it's okay. I learned how to debate in one of my middle school classes, and I thought it was very impactful because you were able to, you know, disagree with a person, but still have evidence on your side or on other people's sides and like make opinions. explain why you think your way is, but also be open to change, you know?
Yeah,
I think that's really important.
that's really cool. I like that answer. Yeah, that's great. It's a great answer.
Hmm.
Okay. Do we have any more questions or
We
what
probably
time?
should, because they want this to be an hour long.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
feels like
We're at the
it feels really hard to like
No, it is.
just two people, you know?
It is. I feel like there's
It's just
some groups that have like five or
yeah.
something
Oh,
because
they all get like really short turns then.
no, we have to stretch ours out. It's stretching our knowledge. It's okay.
Yeah. It will be for our benefit, you know?
Yes.
We're able to get more.
Oh yeah. Let me see. Let me go through my notes real quick.
Yes. I have a question. So in one of the videos, it was talking about how if you flip a coin, you know, it's always going to be heads or tails, you know? It's never not going to be heads or tails. But you start to get to the point where it's like it's impossible that that's going to happen, you know? But why do we think it's crazy? Like how does our brains like telling us like that's a crazy thing? Like how do we just know that? Like was it
Yeah.
something we developed? Is it something that like we just were naturally born with was to be skeptical of things at first glance? Maybe it's the adversary. I don't know for
Yeah.
certain things.
That's a good question. I almost feel like the more crazy you make something sound, the more like even if it has the same chances of something happening, I
Hmm.
feel like our brains kind of are like, oh well, that wouldn't happen. It's kind of like the coin thing. It's kind of like, oh, like I bet I can flip this thing, flip the coin off the building, down the stairs, blah blah blah, like whatever you're gonna do, and it's gonna land on tails. But we kind of forget that there's that 50-50 like chance that it is gonna land heads or
Yeah.
tails. So I don't know if that could be part of it. Like we're just like it sounds crazy to us so that we think it's not going to happen as much even if it has
Like
the
the
same chances.
crazier that you make it. Well, I think that means that it was probably learned. If like we learned that if things sound too good,
Yeah.
you know, when our parents were like we were like shooting for the stars, you know, we're like maybe come back down to earth just a little bit. My parents didn't do that too much, but
No, but
it's just
yeah.
something that we were learned. If it sounds crazy, we're not going to go for it, except for a very special few who like Elon Musk, that man is crazy.
Yeah.
But he's like really smart and just
Yeah.
like he it doesn't sound crazy to him to do like the weird things, I guess. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Okay, so here's a little question. So
uh,
learning about like the level of significance and all of that stuff. Obviously, like I have a concept for the level of significance. If you
uh,
were to describe it in like simple terms, because I feel like when I was reading it, I don't know, that one just kind of like I was a little confused about that one and p-value and both of those. Do you have like another way you could did you ever get like a
uh,
really good grasp on that? Because I feel like I still a little bit
I'm
struggle with that.
still kind of confused, but I think I have an okay understanding of it.
Okay.
So, for the alpha, that's like the level of significance. So, you wait.
No, I know. This is how I am. I kind of understand the concept, but when I try and put it in words, it
I
gets really
know
confusing for me.
alpha is chance. So the chance of something happening, and I like to think of it as like if your brain's smaller, then the p-value is going to be smaller because the chances of your brain being small is very low. I don't know. That's how
No,
I
that
was thinking about
I
it the other
like it. I
day.
like the
I was
visual.
like, I made a really weird connection there. So it's like it's the chance. What are the chances that this happens? Well, there's probably a such and such chance. Usually the average is like zero point 0.5 or whatever.
Uh,
And then the alpha is kind of like a pole, is how the teacher was explaining it. And so you're either going to make it over the pole or you're not. So
yeah,
your p
that's true.
value, if your, wait, if your p value is smaller than your alpha, it means that it wasn't by chance. I might have messed that up.
It's okay. And I mean, obviously I'll study them more, but I was just, yeah, that's something like I kind of understand them and I get like the point 0.5 thing kind of, but it's hard for me to put them in words. So that's something I definitely need to study more.
Yeah. I I do know that there's like Pearson R, which is like the relationship where it's like the dots. I don't know if you've learned about it yet. Not
Yes.
yet. So
Yeah,
the
like the
closer it is,
core, yeah.
it's more straight. It's either positive or negative. And then there's Cohen D. I don't know if I said that right, where it's shifting over standard deviation. So if it's over one standard deviation, it's 32.4. I could be wrong on that percent of
Okay.
people. I'm definitely understanding that a little bit better,
Okay. Well,
but
that's awesome.
I don't know. I
No,
also need to go study it, but it's been a crazy week.
I feel like this week has been like super crazy. All of my classes have like big things to do this week, and I'm like, okay.
I know. I'm taking 15 credits and working 15 hours a week, and I'm
Oh
still trying to
my
manage a social
gosh.
life. So I think I have like
Yeah,
23 assignments or something due this
that's
week. I have over half of them done. And
good
after this, it
job.
will be like, I'm rolling it. But I still have
That's
a lot to
insane.
do, and I am not on enough sleep to do it because I would
No,
just
you're
crank it out, but I am just so sleepy. I'm sitting here and I'm like, don't close your eyes, don't fall asleep. My brain's just working a little slower. So I will be taking like a 20-minute
you're
nap after
good.
this to be
Oh,
able to
yes, as
think.
you should.
Hopefully I'll be able to take a nap. Should we move on to the
Okay.
last part?
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do it. We're almost done. We're cruising through this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, for the final 20 minutes of class, this part doesn't take that long. Like, it
Wait,
doesn't
which part are we on? Are we on the
part
99?
three.
Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
99. That part takes like, you should spend 10 minutes on this, which means like 2.5 minutes per person. We have to spend 5 minutes per person explaining it. So
Yep.
I can go first if
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
okay.
great.
Okay. I lost my notes. Where'd they go? Okay, so the first thing studied was spacing your learning. So
Okay.
students tend to forget a lot, so they'll be working on a project, they'll learn it, and then they'll forget it. But once you forget it, you want to study it again. And so then that's developing your long-term memory. And so it will stay there for longer rather than just doing it all in one sitting to do it sporadically, which I know Brother Pacini, like the teacher who's in charge of the like creating the class, he's like, spend an hour and a half per day on this class, which I really think you have to spend like 2 hours a day on this class. Like it's so crazy.
Yes. It
Um,
dives deep.
anyway, so I think this is it applicable for life application is when you're doing classes, make sure that you maybe I tend to do when I'm doing my online work, do a little bit of each class every day, so I'm able to remember it better rather than be like all of this class on this day, all of this class on this day to help with memorization. Um, I connected it to the gospel in the way that scriptures, you every time you go back, you'll learn new things with it. You'll learn new things. And that's not quite developing your memory, but you should be coming back to it often. There's a reason you shouldn't sit down and read the Book of Mormon in one day and then never touch it again. You should be reading it, even if it's just one verse every day, because that's how you learn. So.
Yes.
Okay, for the second one, growth mindset, which is one of my favorite topics. Let me just say, I love growth mindset. I think
That's
it's
awesome.
awesome. I did like a whole speech about it in public speaking.
That's awesome.
It's one of my favorite things. But basically, this is a way to help students to be able to get better. So like when they're given feedback, instead of just shutting down and be like, well, I guess I suck, like I'm never going to be able to learn this. Be like, you give them feedback and then they're willing to grow. So with my current job right now, I'm in charge of grading certifications for like these are for like adults and stuff. But that's something that I'm trying to do. I'm making a program, like I'm programming a website
Wow.
to be able to more easily give them better feedback. So if they want to have that growth, they are able to have it because they're learning how to use the application, and then they just continue and they keep learning. But for life, I really think that we should be able to, this is my personal opinions, um, that when you learn, you should be able to improve. And if you don't do good the first time, it's okay. You can keep trying instead of saying, I can never do this, I will never do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Savior wanted us to do too, not just be like, okay, I'm done, but to continue growing. So, and for the last one, it was future behaviors. So basically, this is what I wrote down. Um, we aren't, as people, good at predicting the future. We'll kind of just look at the crowd and see what's doing. And so we need to teach students to overcome this. And I think what it was saying is that, like, you'll have like students on the outliers and you'll have students in the middle, to be able to do that. Um,
Yeah.
you need to look at things more positively when hard things happen, and we can turn to our Savior to help in the hard times. That's what I wrote. So,
Awesome.
okay, I would
That
love
is
to
so
hear
good.
yours.
That was really, really awesome. I really like the growth mindset thing. That was one that I didn't study, but I really liked hearing about
Yes.
it. So, okay, so I printed mine off again because my
I
computer is
did
being,
I did mine on my like iPad. Like I wrote my notes. You can't see it.
yeah. Well, I think no, you're
It's
good.
handwritten.
Oh, I love it. That's so
Yeah.
cute.
So I did the same
Um,
thing. It was just on an
yay.
iPad.
Um, so okay, the first thing I studied was parents and grades. And I thought this one was kind of interesting. So, key takeaways were some of the best things parents can do to help their children are having high aspirations and expectations, regular communication and good reading habits, and having homework rules, which I thought was really
Homework
like
rules.
yes,
Interesting.
isn't it? So those like four things, I think it's four, right? Those four things were like the top things that they found to be the most helpful for parents involved in their child's education.
Hmm.
So I thought it was cool with the high aspirations and expectations. Along with that, it talked about teaching your children to value education was a really important one
Yeah.
because they were able to see like, oh, this is really important and I should value this and I should have high aspirations and expectations. Um, and with the expectations, like the children should learn that like I can do this. It's kind of like that study that we studied a little bit ago, and it talked about how teachers who had like high, or maybe I just studied this. I can't remember if it was for Jigsaw or not, but teachers that had higher expectations, um, and their students did like worse on a quiz, instead of like comforting them and saying, "Hey, it's okay. Like not everyone's good at this." They started to problem solve and was like, "Hey, I believe you can do it, and you can do it better next time. And here's some tools we can do to help get you there." And those students actually felt better than the comforting ones. So I thought that kind of went with that. And then the parents who communicate well with their children like regularly,
Hmm.
those helps parents find potential problems like that their kids are facing in their education. So I thought that was cool. So implications for life. I thought that it was, sorry, let me read what I have here because I kind of have like shorthand notes in a way and just like random little words here and there. Well, not really. It's written out, but I just still need to make sure that I can say it. Um, so yeah, we have learned through this course that having high expectations is a good thing for students, believing that they can do hard things, and communication is good for any relationship. Teaching children to talk to parents about what is hard in their lives will help them, um, and help them something. I wrote something. I just can't read it. Having good reading habits can teach them that we value education at the home and at the school. Um, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. Just all of those things together, making sure that I think the main thing I got was valuing their education.
Yeah.
And then gospel application, or connections. Our Father in heaven and Jesus have high aspirations and expectations for each of us because they know that we, with their help, can do the things and become who He wants us to be. So, that was my first study.
Okay.
My second study was the marshmallow study and self control.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I loved that one. That one was fun. So the key takeaways I got from that were the follow-up studies showed that students who waited were more likely. So you know the marshmallow experiment,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So students who waited were more likely to be more attentive, socially complete, academically successful, and verbally fluent, and able to deal with stress better in the future. So I thought that was really, really
That
cool.
is interesting.
Um, so for life applications, schools in a way are like a test of delayed gratification. If someone chooses to go to school and study for a test and eventually go to college, they're working for something that they really want, but it means they have to be very patient in the meantime. So I just thought that was kind of like school is kind of in a way like a little bit like a marshmallow test, I guess. Um, and gospel applications, when we're patient and we have faith in our Savior and avoid temptation, there will be blessings waiting for us. Just or blessings later in life, for the children, just like the children who didn't eat the marshmallow first. So they had their little blessing at the end, like, here's your second marshmallow. You were patient, you waited. And that's kind of the same for us when
Yeah.
we are patient and listen. So, yeah. The last one I studied was Dunning Kruger effect. And that one was interesting as well. Um, so it talked about those who overestimate abilities often have the lowest abilities, and those who underestimate their abilities are typically more competent. And it's also called the burden of expertise. Training and improving metacognitive, I think, skills often improves the accuracy of one's self assessment. So the more you learn and the more you
Mhm.
do that, the better you get at studying or assessing yourself in your levels. So application. Be wary of anyone who claims anything 100% of the time. It's important to teach students to be aware of their current skill levels and to learn to have less of a fixed mindset. And then gospel applications. The Lord wants us to be humble in our abilities and use them to do good. As members of the church, we of all people know that humans don't know everything, but the Lord still wants us to put in the effort and try our best. So
Nice.
thank
Okay.
you. That's
We
all.
just have the one last thing and then we're
Yes.
done. We have like what, 8 minutes left or something like that.
Perfect.
So let's go through this last thing and then I think we're done. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and then we have to write the little like review
Oh, well,
thing,
that's true.
but
But oh well.
that's later me problems. So
Right?
basically
Yeah.
the paper of the week was the Church of Jesus Christ and mental health,
Yes.
which was very interesting because it seemed like for the most part they had better mental health. To be fair, I'm a little skeptical of this article. I'm going to be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah, no, I'm
I
interested.
I feel a little skeptical, especially talking about data. I feel like we didn't get to hear a lot about how they got the data. It was just, here's what we found. Well, how do I know this study is true? Which I do think that having a religion is very helpful, but like, and this stuff was really cool, but I wish I could have had more information on why it's true.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that would have been really helpful because I feel like maybe I'm misremembering it because I'm so sleepy, but like I feel like we
Mhm.
weren't getting titles. We weren't getting like I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think there was more like in this study they did this to find this type of thing instead of here's what they found.
Yeah. I
Here's what they
guess
found.
I or so sorry, real quick to
Good.
interrupt. The one thing, like that is a really good point. I didn't think about that. The one thing that kind of like makes me think on like the other hand, I guess,
Hmm.
um, is the different years the experiments took place. There were like a whole bunch of experiments. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong about this, dating back to 1986 up
Wow.
until like pretty
I thought
present.
it
And I
was
could be wrong.
2005 to 2024.
Oh, okay. Is that the one that you saw? I think
No.
I think they were talking about maybe like one of the first studies, and I could be wrong about this. I might have just read
Hmm.
it wrong, and that
Okay.
would totally
No,
be on me.
that was just what
Um,
the title said, so I also
okay.
could be wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's the main one I was talking about. I wrote down the first study on LDS saints and mental health was by Judd. I don't know how to pronounce that name. In from 1986 to 1995. I could be wrong about that again. But if it's true that it was, and I'll just go back and back check myself after this. But if it's true, that would be interesting to see. Like, okay, like how many studies have been done on this, and
Yeah.
how similarly are they?
Yeah.
Because if it's just that study you're talking about, like totally, like how do we know this is true? Like I don't know it's true. I don't know. It could possibly not be true. So
Well,
yeah.
another thing that makes me a little bit skeptical, I don't know. I do think it's really good. Like if what they're saying is true, I think it's great and I do agree with it. But they said in the conclusion that they only did studies where like members of the church were highly a part of it. And
Okay.
so that makes me like
Yeah.
wonder, it's like, okay, well, what are those smaller studies saying? Which we are talking about how the more the sample size is, that the better you'll be able to see it. But that was just one of the like kind of concerns I had about it too.
Yeah.
Thought it was interesting, but
No, that's a really good point. Yeah.
I think like sample size is also something that I wish I would have known a little bit more about, which I
Yeah.
could go study it by myself, but like convenience. We
Yes.
only had
No,
30
no.
minutes to do this, so
Right. Right. No, I understand.
30, I don't know. Not very long. So,
Yes. Yeah. Um, one thing that I thought was kind of interesting about it, or it said, or like this was something I don't, again, like you don't know for sure. I don't know for sure, but it said in general, LDS people had better mental health. In some cases, this wasn't true due to demanding or critical religious leaders, which I thought was interesting. Like the more demanding and critical they became, they found that, or at least according to their studies, they found that the people tend to have like worse mental health the more critical and demanding the religious leaders were. which I
Yeah,
thought was like, I wonder how accurate that is because like I wouldn't say our church is or the church is demanding, but I would say also like it is like the Lord asks us to do things that can be hard at times, but that I don't know, that was just interesting to me.
I
So
feel
I'm like,
like I would say we're one of the more demanding churches.
that's what I was like
I
gonna
like
say.
from my studies, I wouldn't be surprised if we are one of the most demanding churches. I don't know.
Right. Well, like, yeah, we have like callings that everyone does and everyone plays a part. And like the Lord asks us to put in our effort, which is like
Yeah.
awesome. But it's also like that surprise. It surprises me that our church has such, and according to these studies, has such good mental health when it does say that critical and demanding can cause like lower mental health. So that's interesting to me. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, good thoughts. I think we're
Thank
done.
you. Awesome. Yay, we did it.
Already, I know we talked
Yes,
just the two of us the whole
we
time. We did
yay.
it.
We did it.
I feel like that's an accomplishment and we should get
I
extra credit.
yes.
Wink, wink, hint, hint.
Wink wink.
Whoever's watching this, please. Anyway, yeah. Is there anything you
Okay.
want to talk about before
Awesome.
we leave? Sorry, I didn't mean
I
to cut
am
you off.
good.
I
No,
might have
you
cut off
didn't.
your
I was
idea.
all done.
Okay,
You're great.
perfect.
You go get some sleep.
Thank you. I have to go switch my laundry first. Then I'll
Oh,
go get some.
okay.
I'll take
Then
like a 15-minute
then
nap.
get sleep.
Like a
Alrighty.
15-minute nap, not very long, but enough to get some
Oh,
rest. Okay.
oh, okay.
Bye. See you
Bye.
next
It
week.
was good to see you.
Good to see
Bye.
you.